Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something pretty specific, but really quite important in the financial world, how regulations keep up with the market.
Exactly. We're looking at the Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC.
Right. And there are some proposed changes on the table for how offers of securities to the public are handled. We've got the draft updates, the markets law, the MKT rules, IFR, GEN.
All stemming from Consultation Paper 166.
Yes. And our goal today is really to unpack these proposals, especially the ones about offers made from the DIFC to investors outside the center. Why the change? What does it mean?
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Where are we now?
Good idea. What's the current rule?
Well, Article 14 of the Markets Law is pretty clear. If you make an offer of securities to the public in or from the DIFC, you generally need an approved prospectus.
An offer of securities to the public, that's basically any communication that lets someone decide whether to invest, right? Gives them the terms, the details.
That's the gist of it, yeah. It's defined in the law, but that's the practical effect.
So under the rules today, if I'm a DIFC company and I want to sell shares to people in, say, Singapore, I likely need a DIFC prospectus.
Correct. And that's not all. Making that kind of public offer, unless it's fund units, makes you a reporting entity.
Ah, reporting entity status. That brings a whole load of ongoing stuff, doesn't it?
It does. You're talking corporate governance standards, continuous disclosure obligations, financial reporting.
Systems, controls,
Whoa.
the works. It's all laid out in the markets law and MKT rules.
Precisely. Parts 4 of the law, chapters 3, 4, 5, and 8 of MKT. Plus, there's MKT Rule 2.5.7.
What does that one add?
That rule says if you're offering from the DIFC to other places, you have to tell the DFSA where you're targeting.
Okay.
And you have to comply with the rules in those jurisdictions, too.
Right. So you could be juggling DIFC rules and the rules in London, Frankfurt, wherever your investors are. Seems like a lot.
It can be.
Yep.
And that leads us neatly into why these changes are being proposed now.
What's the main driver, then?
Well, there's been a noticeable uptick in interest. More companies are using DIFC structures, specifically to raise capital outside the DIFC.
Okay, so they're based here, but looking for money elsewhere.
Exactly. And as we just discussed, that potentially puts them in a position of having to meet two sets of regulatory requirements: DIFC's rules and the target market's rules.
Which sounds like duplication of effort, potentially cost, too.
That's the concern. Potential overlap, added complexity, added cost. It's a big part of why the DFSA is reviewing this.
It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If, French investors are protected by French rules, why add another layer from the DIFC for the same offer?
That's precisely the question. And it ties into the DFSA's own guiding principles, Article 8.4 of the regulatory law, specifically E and F.
Let me guess. Efficiency, proportionality.
You got it. Efficient use of resources and making sure the regulatory burden is proportionate to the benefits. The current setup for from offers might not quite hit that mark anymore.
And they didn't just decide this in a vacuum, right? I remember the paper mentioned looking at what others do.
That's right. They did a benchmarking exercise, looked at other major financial hubs, Singapore, Hong Kong, ADGM, the EU, UK, even the BVI.
And what was the common thread?
The general approach elsewhere is to really focus regulatory firepower on offers happening within their own jurisdiction.
So offers to their local investors.
Pretty much. The prevailing view seems to be that the responsibility for protecting investors lies primarily with the regulator in the jurisdiction where those investors are.
Okay, so this all points towards the main proposal, which is?
The core idea is to remove offers of securities to the public made from the DIFC from the DFSA's primary regulatory perimeter.
Taking it outside the main scope.
Essentially, yes. The rationale being those target markets have their own rules, their own investor protection mechanisms. Let them handle it.
But just to be crystal clear, offers inside the DIFC to DIFC investors, those stay regulated as they are now.
Absolutely, no change there. This is specifically about removing the DIFC offers from the prospectus requirements and associated oversight under the markets law regime.
That sounds like it could make things significantly simpler for businesses here wanting to tap international markets.
That's certainly the intention. Reduce burden, less complexity.
Is there any safety net left for those from offers under DIFC rules?
Yes, a very important one. The general prohibition against misleading conduct, market abuse, that sort of thing that's in the overarching regulatory law, that still applies.
Ah, okay. So even if you don't need a DIFC prospectus for an offer in Germany, your marketing materials for that offer still can't be false or misleading under DIFC law.
Correct. That fundamental baseline of truthful communication remains.
Got it. So if you pull from offers out of the main prospectus regime, there must be knock-on effects. Other rules need tweaking, right?
Definitely. Consequential amendments are needed.
Like that notification rule you mentioned, MKT 2.5.7.
Exactly. If the DFSA isn't primarily regulating these offers anymore, the need to be notified about target jurisdictions kind of falls away. So the proposal is to remove that requirement.
Makes sense. What else? Reporting entity status?
That's a big one. Under the proposals, just making an offer of securities to the public from the DIFC would no longer automatically trigger reporting entity status.
Okay, how is that reflected in the draft law?
You'll see changes in Articles 11, 14, and especially Article 38 of the Markets Law. They're essentially removing the "or" from the DIFC wording in key places. Article 38 defines a reporting entity, and making a "from" offer is proposed to be removed as one of the triggers.
So less ongoing compliance burden if you're only offering outside the DIFC.
Potentially, yes. That seems to be the goal.
Now, what about financial promotions? Those rules always seem interconnected but slightly separate. They're in the GEN module, right?
Yes, the general module. And currently, there's an exemption. Offers made under the Markets Law and MKT rules, whether in or from the DIFC, are generally exempt from the GEN financial promotion rules.
Why the exemption?
To avoid duplication. The thinking is, if you're already subject to the detailed disclosure rules for a prospectus, you don't need another separate layer of promotion rules for the same activity.
Okay, but hang on. If you remove from offers from the scope of the Markets Law and MKC, does that mean the GEN exemption disappears for them?
That's the potential snag they identified.
So you could accidentally end up applying the financial promotion rules in GEN to these from offers, even as you deregulate them elsewhere. That wouldn't make sense.
Precisely. It would defeat the purpose. So to prevent that, there's a specific proposed change in GEN.
What is it?
They propose to amend GEN Rule 3.1.2b to explicitly state that the financial promotion rules in GEN do not apply to offers of securities to the public from the DIFC.
Okay, so it's a clear carve-out. The aim is to take from offers outside the scope of both the prospectus requirements and the financial promotion rules.
That's the intention, yes. A clean removal from those specific regimes.
Right. Now, the consultation paper includes the actual draft text changes and appendices. Could we just quickly walk through the highlights in each, maybe starting with the Markets Law itself?
Sure. In Appendix 1, the Markets Law drafts, the key thing, as we mentioned, is seeing or from the DIFC struck out in places like Article 11, 1b, that's about crypto tokens, and Article 14, 1a on prospectuses. And critically, the changes to Article 38 redefining reporting entity criteria to exclude from offers.
Okay. And Appendix 2, the MKT rules.
In MKT, you see corresponding deletions. Rule 1.1.12a on applicability, Rule 2.1.1a on the scope of the offers chapter, again, removing the from aspect. Guidance notes are updated too, reflecting the removal of things like the old Rule 2.5.7 notification. Whole chunks relating specifically to from offers are proposed for removal.
Makes sense. How about the Islamic finance rules, IFR, in Appendix 3? Any major shifts there?
Appendix 3 is mostly about alignment. The IFR often cross-references the Markets Law and MKT. So as the scope changes in those core modules, the IFR needs minor adjustments to make sure its references and scope remain consistent. Nothing dramatic, just ensuring everything lines up.
Right, housekeeping, basically. And finally, Appendix 4, the GEN module. We talked about the financial promotion rule change. Anything else significant?
That's the main one in Appendix 4. Amending Rule 3.1.2b to explicitly disapply the financial promotion rules to these from DIFC offers is the key change there, ensuring that deregulation in one area doesn't accidentally trigger regulation in another.
Okay, so it seems like a fairly comprehensive set of proposed changes, all aiming for this specific outcome. But we need to stress these are proposals, right?
Absolutely critical point. This is all outlined in Consultation Paper 166, issued May 2nd, 2025. It's out for public comment.
And people can submit feedback.
Yes, the deadline is June 16th, 2025. The DFSA will consider all the feedback received before making any final decisions.
What happens after June 16th? What's the process?
Well, the DFSA reviews the feedback, potentially makes adjustments to the proposals. Then, the changes to the actual Markets Law have to go through the legislative process.
Which involves?
Submission to the president of the DIFC, then to the ruler of Dubai for assent. Meanwhile, the DFSA board finalizes the corresponding rulebook, changes MKT, IFR, GEN.
And we'll know when it's all official.
Yes, the DFSA will announce everything on their website once all the necessary approvals are in place and the changes come into effect. But, as the paper strongly advises, Nobody should act on these proposals until that official announcement.
Okay, good advice. So summing up, the big picture is the DFSC potentially stepping back from regulating offers made from here to investors elsewhere, focusing its prospectus regime on offers made within the center.
That's the core shift proposed. It recognizes that those external jurisdictions have their own regulatory frameworks.
The potential upsides seem clear: less regulatory complexity, maybe lower costs for businesses using the DIFC for international fundraising.
And better alignment with how many other major financial centers approach this.
It definitely leaves us with something to think about. For you listening, how might this change impact company strategies? If you're raising capital internationally, does this make the DIFC more attractive?
And what about investors in those target markets? Does this change anything from their perspective, knowing the offer might not have undergone DIFC prospectus scrutiny?
Interesting questions. It highlights how interconnected and dynamic financial regulation is. If you want the full detail, do check out Consultation Paper 166 on the DFSA website.